Welcome back to Money on Your Mind, and today's topic is money and relationships. And we're now joined with Jim and Ann Lawrence. Jim is a project manager at ServPro, and Ann is a consultant in the Boston area. And as a couple, you've both been able to receive coaching and participate in programs from OwnYourMoney.com, the company that I have founded. And I have a course called Money in Marriage, Creating a Rich Future for You and Your Partner. And it's just such a pleasure to be able to have you here today and to share with our viewers what's possible with money in their marriage. And now what I'd like to do is transition to, okay, what's the impact that money and dealing with it has on our relationships? So, Gail, if you can start as a couples counselor, what are the biggest issues that you see when you help couples around money?
I think the biggest issue is how difficult the issue is to talk about. And so what I tell couples is, if you hope to have a long marriage, take your time, slow down. Because the discussion is so difficult. What happens is most people go into their stress, fight or flight place. And when that happens, the ability to communicate effectively, and even more importantly, the ability to listen effectively, really diminish. And so what has to happen is you have to look at the discussion as a long-term project, where you go in, you start talking, and then you try to notice how reactive you're getting. And so when people get reactive, rather than have the discussion escalate and have the quality of the discussion really go south, as I like to say, just take a time out and just notice, and then each person try to calm yourself down and then go back in when you're ready.
And I know, Jim and Ann, how have you seen money play out in your relationships? And we've talked about, how can you be a team together? A united team in handling your money, because often I find, we touched on roles earlier too, that there's certain roles that we default to around money, but how can we actively choose the roles that we want and be in it together?
The greatest things about doing Own Your Money as a couple, and it speaks to exactly what you were saying, that the model of, on any team, there's an offense and a defense. So our relationship to money can be one of being an offensive player or a defensive player. It's useful in a couple to know if you're the offense or the defensive lead. And that was probably one of the biggest gifts that we got. So I'm an offensive player, Jim is a defensive player, and I was finally able to listen to his strategies as a defense player, and saving, and instead of it being that he was conservative, well, he just had a very different perspective on how to manage our money. And I'm like, go, let's go, make more money, and how can we do it? And a cheerleader. And it's a great part of our partnership, and really, it enabled us to communicate, to trust each other, to be vulnerable, and to listen in a way that we never, ever had before.
I think also what became available inside of that realization was appreciation for each other's position more.
Right.
So there was rather than, oh, there's that thing that makes me upset, I think each of us was like, oh, okay, there's that strength showing up in her that I don't necessarily relate to. So rather than being upset by that, when it raised its head, it's like, oh, okay, there's that thing that isn't my strength, or I don't understand as well, or whatever that is. Because I think one of the things that, as long as I've known you, we've been engaged in looking at life a little differently from how I used to look at life and how I think a lot of people do. A lot of people think, well, you're in your circumstances, and so, your thought process is dictated by what that requires. And when you take that mindset, as I learned to, with you and other work that I've done, now, we can look at our thought process inside of that, and it does allow that. And it does allow for just what Gail was saying, too. It allows for, take a deep breath, take a step back. This is not an emotional conversation. This is numbers on a piece of paper, and, how are we going to make this work and make them add up to the way they need to?
I think we touched on the first step, which is really communication. We say that the top causes of divorce are money, sex, and work-life balance, and I view them all really as founded in communication. So can you touch now on what couples can do once they get started? They're like, okay, we have a way to talk to each other about it, we can communicate. Now, what do we do to solve money in our marriage?
As I say, the #1 issue really is feeling safe enough to have the discussion. And that's something that has to be worked at over and over again, even for very happily married, successful couples in all sorts of ways. When it's this primitive an issue, the stress reaction comes up. Especially if you've been in a marriage for a while, we each kind of think we know the other person's story, but we really don't. We really don't. And so opening yourself up to listening rather than critiquing what the other person's saying, and really listening to the other person's story from their point of view is an amazing experience. It's really been a privilege to witness that in many couples. People have been married a long time and really come to realize they don't get it, even though they think they do.
The core of this is having much more compassion for what your spouse likely went through and what they heard from their parents and how is that playing out. I talk about this concept of you either mirror or match your parents often. And so when you match them, you do what they do because that's what you saw. But when you mirror them, you're actually doing the exact opposite of what they did because you're like, I don't want to be like them. But either way, there are a lot of people sitting down at the dining room table, not just the two of you, because there's your two parents coming in, there's your environment, there's all these scripts playing out, right? Is there anything else you'd like to add on kind of what you found has worked for you as a team?
I think that this whole thing about giving up that we know each other and engaging in a conversation so that we can understand, and Jim and I, when we did Own Your Money, became more clear. Even today, listening to the first half, our backgrounds, like who's at the dining room table, our backgrounds and our relationship to money, the inherited familial conversations are so different. It is no accident that our behavior is the way that it is, and certainly a lack of understanding and tolerance. So definitely, I think we're a great example of that practice of giving up our judgments, and my way's better than yours, my family's better than yours, and you know,
I know better.
And I know better,
things,
and you know, just all of that, so that we can really truly love and accept each other and appreciate that the conversations, it is, I think the bottom line is that there's 20 people sitting at that dining room table with us.
We had touched on how it's so important to have that be a safe space. You know, and because you are vulnerable and because it is often so emotional, that you know that it's safe to say whatever's going on for you. You know, is so important. And, you know, we spoke about the strengths. I have a couple of couples actually, and it's funny because there are money personalities coming through. You have your saver, your spender, your avoiders, right? And so no matter who you are, there's often some sense of conflict when you come together. Even if you're two savers, you probably don't have enough fun, potentially, right? Or if you're a saver and a spender, you might be in conflict because you just view money differently. And so I have an avoider, say, and a spender. That's a touchy one because then they're getting themselves into credit card debt and they don't really know because they don't open the mail. And so, for instance, you know, it's playing to those strengths. And so when I was speaking with the husband and I said, you know, what's the thing that you don't want to do around money? And he just blurted out, open the mail. Because he's an avoider, right? And then so I said, okay, so how do you feel about opening the mail to the wife? And she said, I'm okay with it. So she's now the mail manager. You know, it doesn't have to be as tense because at least they've made it through that first hurdle, for instance. You know, and you said that even when you have awareness to it, it can still be emotional. And so what's happening is incomes have softened some. Either people have gotten laid off, bonuses have gone down, commissions have gone down, so that softened. You know, people then from an expense standpoint, we've learned to spend within these higher means, or we just prices have gone up. And so the squeeze becomes financial, emotional, stressful, like really physical for a lot of people. And can you both speak some about how you feel like the economy has been affecting it and what you're doing to work through that?
Well, what I see is that people, when they become very overwhelmed, they kind of go back to their more primitive defenses, as we say in my field. And so I think just acknowledging to each other how difficult and how emotional and how stressful these conversations are is a big step towards making them better. I think it's when people think, well, it shouldn't be this way, it should be natural, it should be so easy, he should just know, she should just know. That's when it's particularly bad.
What we're finding is that this whole topic of money and relationships is, you know, we are so attached to it. It is such an emotional topic for us, and it is so important now. People are feeling the urgency more than ever. So it's huge that you've already taken the steps to do it. I so appreciate the impact that you are having on the world and with all of your clients and with our viewers today, helping them, especially couples, really to manage through the stress that money may be affecting them right now. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Belinda Fuchs. I'm the host of Money on Your Mind and a CPA, wealth coach, and president of OwnYourMoney.com. Stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to help you make more, save more, and stress less about the money on your mind.